friends, my name is Srini Edavali and you are watching Srini Unplugged. Please do like this video, share and subscribe, and don't forget to press the bell icon. Friends, in today's video we are going to have a look at an investment name called ESG investments. Okay, this is something which is very hot in the market, and in today's video we are going to discuss what this investment is all about, and what are some of the core tenets and parameters and how it's going to help you. But friends, having said that, I think there are two sides to this entire story. While ESG investment is something that is very much considered an important investment pattern in the society by the investors today, there is other side of it also as well, wherein a lot of medias basically quash that as something as a scam. Okay, now we'll just try to understand what this ESG investment is all about and why some people are for it, and why some media outlets and other organizations are against it. And these outlets and some organizations that I'm going to talk about are pretty big in nature. Okay, so let's try to understand first what this ESG investments are all about, and then we'll get into the details of the pros and cons of it. Okay. And friends, if this video goes a little longer, please stay with me because it's going to be informative. And if you are somebody who is in a startup ecosystem, or a growth stage, a late stage expansion of your business, I think this is something that would be of very help to you, because we're just going to dwell into the ecosystem of ESG investments, all right, and where it is coming from. So friends, without much further ado, let's get started. Friends, so for to start the video, let's say you and me as a retail what you call borrowers. Okay, let's start with the borrowers. So when we talk about investments, okay, the basic idea is that somebody is taking the money and somebody is giving the money, right? So the person who is giving the money is basically somebody we call as an investor. So when we go to a bank to borrow money, right, not our money, but somebody else's money as a loan. Okay, so bank is basically investing in us. Okay, so they are giving us a loan. So they are giving us the loans, and we repay the loans. Okay, but what are the parameters that basic financial institutions like a bank would look into when they want to give money to us as retail investors? Okay, institutional investor investing in a retail business user. Okay, so let's look at this perspective before we get into ESG part of it. So of course, from a common sense point of view, he would look at your track record. Okay, first and foremost is, have you taken any financial loans in the past? Okay, if you have taken your financial loans in the past, what is the track record of the repayment of these loans? How regularly have you paid your loans? Okay, and the second parameter, what are the parallel loans that you have run? For example, you have taken a personal loan, and a personal loan is maybe, let's say, 3 to 5 years personal loan, and 2 years into your PL you have taken a housing loan. So you also look at the frequency at which you basically are borrowing from the institutions like banks and financial institutions, right? So all these things are looked at, and finally they ascertain that okay, fine, a person X is very good at in terms of repaying his loans, whether it's a personal loan or a financial loan, and his track record as far as availing credit limits are concerned, it's not very high. Okay, moderate, like based on the amount of earning that he has, he is able to manage the borrowings and repayments. Now all this data is compiled into a system called credit rating. Okay, so when we start doing this thing called borrowing and repayments to the institutions, now we have something called as credit ratings, right? CIBIL scores. Now the CIBIL score is basically nothing but a tracker of your financial discipline. So how many loans have you taken, how many of them you have repaid them in time, also your credit cards, right? So credit cards come into the system, because credit card is again, you are aware, you are being given a credit facility, and how intelligently you're using it, how well you're repaying this credit card payments. All these things come into the picture, and then you have a specific score, right? I believe it is 900 is a top score. So if you have a score of 900, then you are 100% sure of getting credit, number one, and credit at very beneficial terms for you. Okay, for you in the sense for the user who's trying to borrow the money. Okay, so the lower your CIBIL score, the tougher the terms are. It is not that you are ruled out for availing credit facility or borrowing money, but the terms of borrowing will become very difficult. Typical example would be like, if you have a 900 score, you might get a loan for, let's say, 8 to 10%. Whereas if you have a score of maybe 500, 600 to 700, the same loan may cost you around 20%, 22%. So variations, right? So your CIBIL score is basically determining the way institutions will interact with you to give you money. Okay. So similarly, when you talk about enterprises and organizations, they are also actually rated, and these ratings will determine how the institutions will lend to businesses and enterprises. Okay. Now, who are the organizations who do this? For example, in retail case we spoke about CIBIL, right? So in enterprise case, who are the organizations who give you rating for an enterprise or a business or a startup? Okay. So that's what we'll look at to begin with. Okay, first and foremost is Standard & Poor's. I think that's something very globally acknowledged rating system for enterprises, to be specific. Then second is Moody's. Okay, that's again a very recognized and recognized and branded name. Then third is Fitch. So these are some of the rating agencies that specifically give the ratings to enterprises. And friends, these agencies actually also give ratings to the nations also. Okay, so for example, recently Pakistan was rated around what, C++ or something of that we'll look into that. So when they give a rating, they have a definitive meaning to that rating. Okay, and that rating will basically determine whether to lend to this particular entity or a nation. Okay, that's what this rating will basically help the investors. Okay, and then once we understand this part of it, then we'll get into the ESG part of it. So friends, if you have a look at my screen, okay, now you will see that there are ratings. Okay, ratings are basically your numbering system. Okay, your grading system. Okay, now if you look at them, AAA, AA plus, AA minus, A plus, and if you read the entire list, there are 26 of them. Okay, the grading system. Now this grading, how do each of these entities, okay, S&P, Moody's and Fitch take? Okay, do they pick up this rating system as it is, or do they do any changes to the naming convention? If you see that part of it, only Moody's has a different naming convention. Otherwise, Standard & Poor's and Fitch basically follow the standard rating taxonomy. Okay, taxonomy basically means the rating system. Moody's actually, let's say S&P calls AAA, Fitch calls AAA, Moody's will call the same thing as capital A and 2 small a's. Okay, as you can see on the screen. So that's how this rating basically happens, and each rating has a definitive meaning. So what is that meaning? Now, if you look at AA, AAA rating, right? AAA, S&P will call it AAA, Moody's will call it capital A and 2 small a's, and Fitch will call it 3 capital A's. Okay, and what does this mean? Highest credit quality. Okay, then you go one step down, you have A plus. So the S&P will call it AA plus, Moody's will call it capital A small a 1. Okay, and Fitch will call it again capital A plus. And what does it mean? What is the definition? Very highest credit quality. And then the list goes on and on, and the 26 categories list is there. Okay, now what is the last one? So you have D. So D basically means default. Of course, you don't get money over there, but no individual entity or basically a country will go into the D category, because if you look at let's say the left hand side of it, the moment you start from BB minus, okay, if you look at BB minus, which S&P calls as BB minus, Moody's calls it BA3, and Fitch calls it BB minus, speculative high risk. So the moment you come into high risk, not even BB, if you look at this chart, Speculative high risk actually starts from BB plus. Okay, so if you are rated BB plus, from that stage onwards, you are considered as, your investments are considered as speculative and high risk investments. Okay, and then it just goes on and on and on, depending on your hunger and your stomach for investments. Okay, so this is what basically the rating agencies do, specific to entities which are basically what I mean to say is this, business enterprises and nations. Okay, now that we have understood, the rating agencies, what they do, what do they do, and how these ratings basically are aiding and augmenting the financial institutions in their lending patterns. Let's look into the core topic of our discussion today, which is basically ESG investments. Okay, so friends, what is ESG investments? Okay, so for example, when we spoke about retail investments, borrowing of loans, we basically said, okay, fine, we will look at something called as, how disciplined this individual gentleman is, because you are talking of institution to retail investments, right? Institution giving you a loan, basically institution is lending to a retail investor like me or many of us, and they look at my discipline in terms of repayment of these loans. The more discipline I am in terms of repayments, the more frequency I can avail the loans. Okay, now what are they looking at when they do the retail investment? So first and foremost is basically my track record, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video. If my track record is good, they'll say, okay, fine, this fellow's track record is good, so let's go ahead and lend him the next time he comes for any particular financial needs, borrowing needs. The second thing they obviously do is that, because my record is also good, they will basically market all their lending products. Okay, so borrowing products for me, lending products for them. So you get calls from various financial institutions, multilateral, not multilateral, there's basically government part of it, so forget that. So they'll call me and they say, you have this gold loan, home loans, what you call property loan, car loan, consumer finance loan and whatnot. And all these things come because, the rating agencies like CIBIL are sharing my discipline repayment data to institutions and saying, hey, look, this is the data I'm going to give you. In this data, there is, one of the use cases, an example that I'm talking about is Srini. Okay, and this gentleman is pretty good at repayment of the loans. Okay, so this gentleman deserves, to be marketed good loan products. Take this one step forward. Now, in the institutional part of it, what do you look at? You look at co-founders. What is their business? What is their business idea? What is their financial cash flow projections, competition, SWOT analysis, and then you have a list of parameters that you would basically look at, right? You ask the borrower a pitch deck. So what does a pitch deck do? The pitch deck basically will give you as an investor about what these people are all about, what they are trying to do, and most importantly, it will give you an idea that if I put my money into these guys, is my money safe or is it my money going to get exhausted and lost because of the incompetencies of either the processes or the people. Okay, so you want to be very, very sure that basically the money that you're going to invest stays safe, sound, and it's basically leveraged for growth purpose of the organizations, right? So when you look at all these things, earlier till another till 5 to 10 years back, there was nothing called ESG part of it. Okay, so what has happened was there were basic parameters, as I mentioned just now. Okay, co-founders. Okay, who are your co-founders? What is your product, service or solution? What is your market size? What is your competition? How much of market can you capture? And these were some of the things that basically were looked at by the investment community, right? They will look at even today also. I'm not saying no, but when ESG comes into the picture, they are not asking you only these 5-6 parameters or check boxes. Okay, so they are telling you, they are also asking you, okay, fine, tell me how are you going to take care of environment, society, and governance structure. So these 3 additional parameters come into the ESG part of it. All right. Now, good thing is that it basically awakens your consciousness towards environment, society, and governance. Good part of it. But then there is other part of it also is that That's something that we'll discuss toward the end of the video. So now, apart from the 6 factors, you have ESG factors as well. So now, how is ESG ratings look like? Okay, let's have a look at them. So again, you have AA, AAA, ESG 1, which is outstanding ESG performance, top tier. Okay, like I mentioned, the retail part of it, if you are 900 score, you are outstanding customer, right? Similarly, ESG, A, AAA, ESG 1, outstanding ESG performance. And if you go down, D/ESG 10, minimal or no ESG disclosure or poor performance. So that basically means that you take loans. I mean, if you have to draw an analogy, you take loans but you don't repay them on time, and you're a risky customer. This is what happens. Now, for example, when you invest money into enterprise, right, or a business, basically you look at the safety of your money, right? So we discussed the parameters that a typical investor would look at in terms of safety. We discussed the rack, and we'll go through it once again. Pitch deck part of it. Basically, who is the core team founding members? What is their experience? What do they bring to the table? What is the product solution or services that they are doing? Have they done the market feasibility study? Okay, market study. How much market can they capture provided I lend my financial support to them? And all these parameters are considered, right, as an investor. Now for ESG, what do you take into account? Okay, so that's what we'll discuss now. Now, global reporting initiative from an ESG perspective. So if you're a large conglomerate organization, so what is that you would look at in this conglomerate organization to invest from an ESG perspective? The first and foremost is called global reporting initiative. So what does this mean? So GRI is one of the most widely used framework for ESG reporting. It provides a comprehensive set of guidelines and indicators for reporting on environmental, social, and governance aspects. Now, the GRI standards are updated periodically to align with evolving sustainability practices. Okay. The second thing that you would look at is Sustainability Accounting Standards Board. Okay. Now, SASB focuses on industry-specific ESG disclosure standards. It provides industry-specific metrics and disclosures to help companies report on material ESG issues relevant to their sector. Okay. Task Force on Climate-related financial disclosures. Now, TCFD provides recommendations for disclosing climate-related financial risks and opportunities. It encourages companies to report on how climate change affects their business strategies, risk management, and financial performance. Now, Principle for Responsible Investing. So, PR is an initiative by the United Nations that encourages investors, okay, because we are talking about ESG investing. This is for the investors to integrate ESG factors into their investment decision making process. It provides a framework and set of principles for responsible investment. Okay. Not the last one, sorry. Okay. UN Sustainability Development Goals. So this United Nations has defined 17 sustainable development goals that addresses global challenges such as poverty, inequality, and climate change. So companies can align their ESG efforts with these goals to demonstrate their contribution to global sustainability. Okay, now ISO is one part of it. ISO 14001 environment and ISO 26000 social responsibility. I think that's what the ISO and 14001 and 26000 basically talk about. So these ISO standards provide guidelines for environmental management and social responsibility practices respectively. While they are not specific to ESG reporting, they can be a good foundation for ESG initiatives. Okay. Then you have Equator principles. The principles are a risk management framework for determining, assessing, and managing environmental and social risk in project finances. They are particularly relevant for financial institutions involved in project financing. Corporate governance codes. Then you have carbon disclosure project. Now, carbon disclosure project collects and discloses environmental data from companies, including their carbon emissions, water usage, and climate-related risks. Reporting to CDP is a common practice for companies focusing on environmental ESG factors. And last but not least, human rights reporting. Okay. Now, basically, what this entire 10 factors talking about is, how you as an entity, whether you are a startup or a multi-conglomerate enterprise, are basically taking care of investors' money to make sure that you are taking environment, social responsibility, and governance also, okay, as a part of your pitch. Okay, when you go and do a pitch part of it to investors for raising and borrowing money, now these factors will also have to be something that you must consider. Okay, in essence, what they're saying is, boss, you come to me not just on this 6-factor checklist that we discussed in the beginning. You also come to me considering the other factors, the ESG factors, okay, also, and what in ESG I'll be looking at. So these are the things that I'll be looking at. The something that we just spoke about, right? So you make a presentation pitch deck considering all this also, and come to me so that we can sit together, evaluate, have a conversation, listen to your presentation, and then decide whether we should basically invest in your enterprise or organization or not. So that's what we are talking about. Now, one of the things that's happening, some people are actually doing it is, for example, environmental, social, and governance part of it. Now, environmental part of it, some people, I heard it, I'm not too sure. Again, this is something that I've heard and read somewhere in the newspapers that somewhere in Norway, if I'm not wrong, okay, the Prime Minister had taken a green initiative where they said, okay, we will incentivize people who are going to go green. So what does it mean? Let's say if you're going to your office, shut down any travel mode which basically produces more carbon, okay, buses, petrol, diesel vehicles, gasoline vehicles, okay. Instead of that, go on bicycles, go on green green way of transportation. Typically today we can talk about EVs, right? So if you adopt these changes, okay, in terms of your transportation mechanics, I'll incentivize you, okay. That's one way of looking at environmental protection part of it. And basically the investors will love it because you are decarbonizing the entire environment, which is good for the society at large, right? That's the environment part of it. Social part of it. The social part of it could be basically like of course, one part is we typically do is that we donate food, right? Food donation programs happen, and then clothes donation program happens. But as a corporate social responsibility, what can you do? So one of the things I'm just talking out of my top of my mind, this could be we do a lot of environmental destruction. Okay, basically when you go to any big corporate offices or shopping malls, and when you visit the restroom area, you see a lot of tissue papers. Okay, this tissue papers basically means there's a lot of cutting off trees. Okay, now what we could do as individuals and society and responsible citizens working in organizations, whether a corporate organization, malls, is basically you plant trees, right? For every tree you cut, you plant a sapling. So that's a good way of basically making sure that your social responsibility is adhered to. Governance basically means I don't want to sound like a Modi Bhakt, even if I sound, that's okay. As they call, sabka saath sabka visas, take everybody along with you, and what it basically means is that treat everybody equally, okay, and make sure that you don't get into this unwarranted areas, okay. So governance basically means sticking to the rule book, okay. So if you are in India, please stick to the rule book of Indian governance. If you are in America, please stick to the rule book of American government rules. If you are in any other country, you please stick to the rules of that particular city and state, okay. Governance basically means adhering to the rule book in all the various aspects of pertaining to that particular state or country, okay, what are they prescribed for you. So that's what governance governance adherence basically means, okay. So once you bring all these points in a PowerPoint presentation to me as a investor, because I have the money, and if I want to invest in an ESG enterprise, I would look at all these things. That's what I mean to say. All right. Now you came to me and you gave a detailed presentation with all these points incorporated, and then I also know that you are a big brand because and you have got you do a lot of good things, and then you are also trying to improve, enhance, and augment the ESG part of it. Definitely, you never know. At some point of time, you may have my money. Okay, big money we're talking about. This is institutional money also, basically, because you don't think of this basically from a venture capital perspective, because many financial institutions, big institutions like Bank of America and JP Morgan Chase and these kind of organizations invest big in basically ESG what do you call ESG adhering companies, okay? ESG adhering companies. So they do that. So that's a big money that you get from these financial institutions for basically complying with ESG norms. So that's where it is. So basically, this is what it is, friends. So now next, look at who are the agencies who basically do the ESG part of it, right? Now till now we looked at the parameters. Now look at some organization who do the ESG part of it. Okay. So MSCI ESG Research, Sustainalytics, Dow Jones, FTSE, and then if you look at the entire list, I think you have Thomson Reuters does that. Vigio Iris, I don't know, a lot of them are there. ISS, EOCOM, I don't know, some different name. Refinitiv ESG data. So all these 15 companies that you see on the screen, they basically are entities who give you ESG audits and ESG based ratings. Okay, so if you think that you need to be a ESG rated enterprise before you go to ESG based investment entity, so you can go to any of these organizations and say, what, I want my company to be audited for my ESG compliances. So these people will come to you, they will engage with you, they'll engage with your staff and people, and then they will do a lot of audit work, and then finally they'll come with the ESG report. Okay, and this ESG report will basically consist of the ESG rating that we see in the earlier screens, right here. Okay, so these ratings will come in, and then based on your ratings, you take this data and say, this is my ESG rating, and this is the fund that I'm asking for. These are you can have a business understanding based on that, right? So that's what ESG basically investing is all about. Okay. So in essence, friends, so the video is not yet over. Okay, so stay tuned. So what I meant to say is that here I just would like to conclude this part saying that ESG investing is the in thing right now. A lot of companies are going after ESG, procuring ESG ratings, and a lot of investment funds, okay, financial institutions are also looking at channelizing the money that they have on their kitty to the ESG based entities, okay, entities who have got good ESG ratings, and they would like to take some of those funds and invest in these companies per se, to make sure that you have much higher sustainable and profitable business engagement. Okay, that's what it is. So now, friends, having said that, so far what was spoken is all the good part of the ESG, right? And it's important because who doesn't want to be in a place where you have good environment, good social structure, and good governance structure, right? I would definitely love to be in a space like that. Okay, but again, when you talk about the investment perspective, I think there are some challenges. Okay, and there are a lot of news articles who say that ESG is a sham, and why they are talking ESG is a sham, and what are the shortfalls in this ESG investing. Okay, so let's have a look at them. Now, first and foremost is greenwashing. Now, what is greenwashing? A company claims it is in its marketing material that it is a leader in environmental sustainability. Okay, and emphasizing its commitment to reducing carbon emission. So that's what they claim in their marketing material. However, in reality, the company has made minimal efforts to reduce its carbon footprint and has not implemented any significant environment-friendly practices. Okay, I think so. It's a false claim, right? This is an example of greenwashing where the company portrays itself as a more environmental responsibility that it actually is to attract environmentally conscious investors. So basically, I do a lot of greenwashing because if let's say ESG investment part, we discussed about 10 parameters, I adhere and to only one or two, and I say I have been given this rating based on all the 10 parameters. What happens? Okay, I am basically making a false claim, greenwashing you, because I got recognized, no doubts about it, but that was on 2 parameters only, and I tell you as an investor that this is my ESG rating based on all these 10 different parameters, right? So it's a false claim. So that's what is called as greenwashing as far as ESG investing is concerned. Lack of standardization. Now, 2 ESG rating agencies assesses the same company's ESG performance but provide significantly different ratings. Agency A gives the company a high ESG score while agency B rates it much lower. Okay, this inconsistency often in ratings can be confusing for investors and illustrates the lack of standardization in ESG assessment. Now, let's say I want to raise ESG funds. Okay, I go to company A and say, you audit me and give me a rating. So company A comes and gives me a rating of, let's say, topmost, or one or two, and or let's look at the other way. The company gives me a rating which is not to my liking. Okay, and I find, why did they rate me like this? Because I need an ESG investment. This is not going to serve my purpose. I already have one rating, and I say no, this is not something that is going to help me procure the investments. I go to rating agency B. Okay, rating agency has done his job, give me a rating. I go to B, and then I also work with B, but B gives me an amazing rating, right? Okay, they say I'm superheroes of ESG practices. Now, which one would you take as an investor, right? Because I will obviously suppress the one given by A, because it will not serve my purpose. So that's what this point is talking about: lack of standardization. Next is complexity. An individual investor wants to build a portfolio of ESG investments, but is overwhelmed by the complexity of ESG data. Okay, and ESG data and various ESG rating methodologies and abundance of ESG funds. Okay. The investor finds it challenging to select investments that align with their values and financial goals due to the complexity involved in ESG investing. So, as I mentioned, the more complex and more parameters we add to ESG, it becomes more and more complex for me as an investor to ascertain whether it is actually aligned with my goals. Okay, that's what it is called. The complexity of ESG parameters that need to consider from just forget company, from industry itself is, it's pretty huge. Okay, and let's say if you are a software company or in the IT industry or a IT service industry versus a manufacturing industry versus a logistics industry. Okay, and there is no industry-wide standardization of what you call parameters as such. So it's a lot of complex things that are going over there. So this complexity basically adds kind of ambiguity in terms of need to decide to make an informed decision whether to go for an ESG investment or not. So that's one challenge. Then subjectivity is there. Two ESG analysts evaluate the company's social performance, believes the company is doing a good job in promoting employees' well-being because it offers flexible work arrangements. Analyst B, however, believes that the same company has a room for improvement because it has a history of labor disputes. The subjectivity of this assessment highlights the potential for different opinions in ESG evaluations. Again, as we discussed. Misalignment of interest. The investor later discovers that the funds included in investment companies involve controversial industries. So basically, let's say there is somebody who comes to you say, we have a mutual fund. Okay, this mutual fund is going to invest in ESG based companies. Okay, now you believe that, okay, fine, as a responsible citizen, as a responsible investor, as we talked in the past, you want your money to go into ESG based ESG practice adhering based companies, because there is a mutual fund created around ESG based investments. You dump your money in this fund, and later you discover that this mutual fund has nothing to do with ESG investment. They're scattered all across. Okay, now you say, oh no, but I was of the impression that my money is going to environmentally, socially and government responsible organizations. The fund, mutual fund as a whole will invest in this kind of entities. But what I discovered is that it's completely misaligned. Okay, so that's one more challenge of what you call your ESG misalignment of interest. Okay, so that's what happens. So these are some of the what you call challenges or gaps that exist in the ESG ecosystem, right? Either from a borrowing perspective or a lending perspective, and more from a borrowing perspective, because this term is very, 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 very what you call as the in thing, right? And let's say the moment you say, I'm into ESG part of it, as far as I want to approach a ESG investor, okay, and build all these things into your what you call pitch decks. There is the chances of you getting a high possibility of getting a chance to talk to the investor is very high compared to somebody who doesn't talk about this terminologies, right? So that's the reason why a lot of people, whether the good or bad part of it, use ESG in their pitch decks. Okay, and so that is something the investors should be wary about, something the people who are borrowing or going after the investors should also be wary about. Don't fill up your pitch deck with ESG because it's an in thing. Okay, yes, I said it's an in thing. A lot of people are doing things which they are not supposed to do because it's not necessary, right? You can get with the 5 parameters also. If you are in the right path, right direction, with the right intention, this without this ESG part also you can raise and funds. So we have seen that in the industry. So again, so the whole point that I'm trying to make over here is ESG, definitely yes, the ESG investments are happening. There are some challenges and gaps as we discussed just now in the ESG part of it. And last but not the least, I'd like to show you some newspaper articles, okay, about ESG investing. So the fundamental misunderstanding of ESG is it is termed doomed to die, okay. So if you look at all these news articles, they are saying you should take away ESG from the investing ecosystem and throw it into the dustbin. So that's what they're talking about, okay, because the primary argument of all these people who are saying that ESG should be taken away from investing as a business practice is fundamentally because they are of the opinion that you need not enforce ESG on them. That's a whole thinking point. Just now I said it's good to have ESG, a lot of funds are doing ESG part of it. I also mentioned that not having ESG in your pitch deck doesn't mean you will not raise funds. Okay, that's what this set of people are talking about. The core idea of a business is to earn money for its shareholders. All right, that we can, both of us can agree upon. Now, how do we do that? Environmentally, socially, and governance wise, responsibly, if you do it, well and good. Even without it, if you do and make money for their shareholders, they are still happy, right? They will not say that they are not happy because you are not followed the ESG protocols, right? They're still happy because at the end of the day, they want returns, okay? Money, investments is money, returns, okay? And an exit plan. So that's the reason why a lot of these people who are against ESG are saying that, let investment remain as an investment and don't enforce and coerce ESG into it. That's what their entire thought process. That's why you have articles like this, okay? So friends, in a nutshell, ESG is basically nothing but 3 more parameters added to your investment, parametric considerations. It's good to have ESG, but doesn't mean if you don't have it, you will not be able to raise funds, okay? It's definitely not the case. Not having ESG, but still raising the funds is a definite possibility. You can do it, okay? Last but not the least, there are many advocates who say throw ESG into the dustbin because let investment remain in its purest form and don't add ESG to its core process, okay? Many of the people advocate that, including our Twitter CEO Elon Musk, okay? So friends, this is what I wanted to talk to you all in this video. I come to the end of this video, friends, and if you enjoyed this video, please do like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to press the bell icon. And friends, as I always keep saying, please do let me know your thoughts on this video, whether it has been helpful to you or not, because it basically helps me also to bring you curated and quality content to all of you. And lastly, friends, as I said, I come to the end of this video. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, Jai Hind, Bharat Mata Ki Jai.